welcome to Season of War. Today we are talking about Age of Sigmar. Zack, we just played our first game with the Ogor Mawtribes. You specifically playing the Ogres,
Yes.
one of your favorites. First off, new battle tome. We're not going to spoil the match we played or anything, but what are your first thoughts with the new book?
It's good. It gave a facelift that the book needed. A lot of the War Scrolls were very 2.0 and very early 2.0 as well. So it gave a great facelift to a lot of troops, made it a lot nicer to play with them, especially the Foot Ogres, who were been struggling basically since the beginning. It definitely boosted them up into a great spot.
Nice. Awesome. Well, big questions are like, how does the army play? Does it play any differently?
Plays the same, exactly how you'd expect. You might actually see a little bit more shooting ogres, which is cool.
Okay.
They got, once again, a nice buff. They basically got their old sub-allegiance ability put into each one of the War Scrolls for the respective shooting units. So you might see a little bit more shooting from them, but yeah, same idea, same old of what you'd expect. Move up, charge, hope to kill as much as possible, and then obviously enjoy it because you're playing destruction.
Yeah, and you have obviously like at events and stuff been playing a lot of Beastclaw Raiders. There was always a bit like it felt like two separate factions in a lot of ways. Is that the same?
I think with how the sub factions have changed now, it's a little bit less like that.
Okay.
But I think you will be seeing a lot more of one or the other.
Yeah.
I think you'll kind of be seeing a focus into two of the sub factions rather than having maybe like a nice combo list of one. One thing that you might see a little bit more is maybe an Underduts with one monster, most likely a Stonehorn, a Frostlord on Stonehorn. That might be a common one, but yeah, I think for the most part, they'll still be generally separate from one another.
No. Yeah, fair enough. And then you mentioned Underduts, so that's one of the sub-factions, gives additional rend to shooting, so that's where you're saying you might see more shooting.
Yeah, so that's a really exciting one. So the old Underduts, there was a few different tricks to do with it, but basically it gave your Lead Belchers 18-inch range, it let your Iron Blasters shoot 2 shots instead of just one, and then there was an artifact that you would take that would make everything +1 to hit if it was shooting a hero or a monster. And so what that's translated into is now the Iron Blasters get 2 shots just on their War Scroll, so you don't even need to spend a command point for that like you had to before. And then they changed the damage from 1d6, which is probably the most frustrating kind of damage there, to 3 plus d3.
Nice, that's
so
really good.
That's huge. So you go from like an average of 4 to an average of 5, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're totally tightening the skew of it, right? So it's just like at minimum you're doing 4 damage if something goes through, which is insane. That's like such a great improvement for them. And so it also gave them, like you mentioned, additional rend. So now Iron Blasters will be rend 3 and Lead Belchers will be rend 2 with now a constant 18-inch range.
Really solid.
Yeah, instead of having 1d6 shot if they don't move, it's now 2d3 if they don't move. They still have only the d3 if they do move, but once again, just a great, like, at least now you're getting a minimum double the shots, right?
Yeah, so. And it's a unit that can, like, it's mid-range shooting, but it obviously has the wounds in the unit, 4 wounds per model, where they can move mid-table and be relatively tanky still. They're not going to fall over, like a one wound unit. So lets them be a little more resilient, sit at close range, not have to move after that, and get more shots.
Yeah, and they've always been more of a melee unit that has some shooting, but now I think especially in Underguts, they're going to be a 50-50. So I think they're going to be a shooting unit and a melee unit almost right down the middle.
So they're still 2 damage.
They are still 2 damage on their hit. One thing that they lost, though, was a rend on their melee attacks, which does hurt a little bit. But just because the marketable increase in the shooting, I think that really helps them out a lot.
Worth it.
Worth it, yeah.
Well, other than Underduts, what are, I guess, the standout sub-factions in your mind?
So it's funny, the 2 that were the best still remain the best.
Okay.
So the next one is Boulderhead. Boulderhead kind of got the 3.0 updates it's a very similar if you've seen the Lofnir Lodge and Fire Slayers for the one Fire Slayer player out there. They get +2 wounds, and then they get to choose 3 mount traits.
And that's on the Stonehorns.
And that's on the Stonehorns and Thunder Tusks.
Okay.
And the +2 wounds can go to any of the big monsters. And then the 3 mount traits have to be on heroes.
Nice.
They did shorten out the list, so there's not. There used to be more than 3 apiece. Now there's only 3 apiece for each one of them. But somehow Metal Cruncher survived. And they changed it. So it's a little bit worse now. It's on a 1, 2, or 3. So that's a little bit of a change to save D6 mortal wounds. So there's a little bit of a change there. But then all monsters in the book went up 2 wounds as well.
Wow. Yeah. So still with a 5-up ward.
Still with a 5-up ward.
Nice.
So now you're going to be seeing Frostlords and Stonehorns and Boulderhead with 17 wounds and a 5-up ward and all that sort of stuff.
Yikes.
They went up only 15 points for that buff, which I think is huge. I mean, if you could pay 15 points to make something go up 2 wounds,
it's worth it,
right? Especially on such an elite model. Yeah, so those are still the big 2, and I guess in the game actually I played Meat Fist, which is kind of like the main ogre faction in the lore, and it went from unplayable. Once again, it was so bad. It's all. I
literally had never heard of the subfaction
exactly.
until now.
It was so bad, but now with how the new charge mechanic works, because now it's 6 to mortal wounds still on the charge, equal to the charge roll. But now it's 5-ups if you're over 3 models, and then if you're a monster, it's a 4-up. But Meat Fist lets you add +1 to that. Nice. So now even like a 3 model count unit can be doing 4-up mortals.
Yeah.
And so that can be huge. So there is something to say about doing maybe an MSU style.
For sure, because a couple big charges and you got 4 or 5 mortal wounds coming out of a unit. Like.
Yeah, exactly. So that was probably like the biggest changer.
Yeah.
Going from the beginning or the other book to this book, that's the biggest probably change in the sub-faction. And in terms of like a few key units that you'll probably be seeing, definitely the Frostlords on Stonehorn still
solid.
Still amazing. Still the best unit in the book, probably by far. That's really good. Kragnos, who is also included in the book, he'll still be making his appearances for sure. Just how he synergizes with ogres is insane.
Yeah, when you multiply the charges, give them an extra D6, and then they're doing mortals or impact mortals on those.
Exactly. And you can kind of tell this book was written when the shooting meta was very heavy. It's dropped down a little bit, but some units you might be seeing more of that you didn't see is Mournfang. So they're -1 to wound and shooting, and then also on Unleash Hell you can only wound them on 6s.
Nice. Wow.
So it's pretty good. So they're basically immune to shooting for the most part, especially on the charge with Unleash Hell. So probably seeing more of those units.
Yeah, even just being that 1 or 2 units to tag the shooting units, be the first to charge in, avoid the Unleash Hell. Yeah, no, that's nice. And talking about the Meat Fist, MSU, I think even MSU with Kragnos, that could be wild with a couple of units of just the minimum 3 or 4 ogres.
Yeah, if you run a bunch of lead belchers for 170 points apiece, and then you just have them all charge in at their 3d6, do their shot, and go flying in.
Yeah, it's interesting. Another way, because obviously we see that in the the Stonehorn build with the 3 Stonehorns or whatever. We've seen that for a while with Kragnos, and you've famously run it a lot and done really well with it, and. Yeah, we could see a similar thing with the ogres, which is interesting.
Yeah. So the book is great. It definitely boosted a lot of stuff I need to boost. I once again, just being a foot ogre lover and loving Gluttons and Iron Guts, they got boosted. They are a lot better than what they were, but they were also 50 points overcosted on the unit. Yeah. And then they went up another 15, and Iron Guts actually went up another 40 points.
Oh, wow.
So for 4 models, it's 275 points.
That is a lot, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey for just a foot unit. So that hurts a little bit. But yeah, overall, book looks pretty solid. Yeah. I think there's more play in it than there was before, which is nice. Even... I mentioned before, foot ogres were kind of unplayable just with how all the rules work and stuff. They were very hard to get on the table and do anything with. But now, even in just casual games or lower competitive games, you can put them on the table and have fun now.
Awesome. That's all
incredibly important.
Yeah, all you can ask for. Interesting though, talking about the points that they got a lot better, the War Scrolls. Points though is something that if, obviously it still takes testing and practice to kind of get a feel for everything, but if that's something where we're still think they're a little pricey. Maybe, points is one area that is more easily changed or more often changed.
Yeah,
So.
and it's great. Like, the rules are there. Like, they're all there. It's just the points are just too much right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll bring them down a little bit. I know we'll have a big update. The book just released, right? So it might not see it in like the next big GHB
Yeah,
update,
even like
probably
FAQ.
not.
Well, obviously no beta. It's mostly just clarifications in the FAQ. But
Yeah. So, but hopefully we'll see some maybe points decreases 6 months down the line for them to just see them a little bit more on the table, because I'm sure even you guys at home, like, how often do you see foot overs?
Yeah, I'd love to see them more.
Yeah. They're such great models. They have such character. Like, in the beginning of this game, I told Jordan to look out Noblar, which makes the Glutton's Mice when they wound. Like, the description for it is just a Noblar yelling, "Look out!" as the shot's coming in, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
very flavorful.
very flavorful for sure.
Nice. Well, that was a good recap, like kind of overview. Any, I guess, final words, special mentions of MVPs in the book or anything? Obviously, you mentioned a couple, but any parting words?
I am excited to see some more ogre shooting.
Yeah.
I think that'll be fun. Iron Blasters, amazing models. Once again, not one that you saw on the table too much, but they're such cool models. Just giant cannons pulled by a woolly rhino with a dude on the back holding the cannon and a bunch of Noblars working around it. So I'm actually really excited to see more of the Undergut side. It was playable, like, in a little bit, like, good players could definitely do really well with it. Yeah. But now I think, like, you don't necessarily need to be, like, a really good player to do really well with it. It has
a little
the
more
stats
approachable.
Now. Yeah, it has the stats now, not just you have to, like, do exceptional, like, list tailoring and then, like, doing this, placing here. Like, you can go, like, oh, I'm Ren 2 on these shots, or I'm Ren 3 on these shots. Like, that unit is deleted, like, see you later sort of stuff. So I'm really excited to see more Underguts. But yeah, overall, book is mainly the same in terms of how it plays, but definitely got the facelift that needed.
Awesome. Well, happy to hear it. Zach, obviously, I know you're excited. I'm excited to see them out more on the table as well. So hopefully this is a nice little lift for them. But guys, I hope you enjoyed that overview, quick look at the book. Don't forget, there's a ton of awesome content creators out there that'll be doing like deep breakdowns on all the battle tomes. So definitely go check those out. And get excited about odors.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's about it. We'll see you guys soon in another video.